Good evening semuanya. Welcome to Ad America. My name is Jasmine. I'm one of the e-guides here at Ad America, and I would be more than happy to answer all of your questions about Ad America. Di sini ada yang baru pertama kali ke sini, ke Ad America? Oke. Selamat datang ke ET America. ET America adalah American Center yang ada di Jakarta. Kita selalu mengadakan acara-acara seru membagi informasi tentang Amerika dari acara kita. Now, I would like to show you a few of our upcoming events. So up next, we're going to have a movie screening, Dream Big Engineering Our World movie screening. This is going to be held on Friday, 17th of January from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And up next, we're going to have a performance for those of you who would like to sing along with us here at Ad America. We're going to have Emotion in Motion. This is going to be held on Saturday, 18th of January from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And also, Ad America has a free service called EducationUSA for those of you who are interested in pursuing your higher education in the United States. We always have 2 advisors standing by who are more than happy to answer all of your questions. They're available every day from 1 to 9 p.m. Except for Saturdays, Ad America is opened from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. And these are the highlights from the past events that has happened at Ad America. I would like to invite you guys to become our member biar nggak ketinggalan sama update seru kita. Caranya gampang banget, just visit our website at www.adamerica.org.id, click register, fill in your name and your email address, and you will get our free newsletter once a week through your email. Kita nggak nge-spam kok, seminggu sekali aja. And also, Ad America has lots of social media platforms. Jangan lupa untuk follow kita di social media kita. Dan bagi kalian yang mau tag kita di Instagram atau mention kita di Twitter, boleh nih di @America. And don't forget to use the hashtag @America. And your tweets will appear over on your right side. And also for tonight, our special hashtag is StudiAS. All right, so without further ado, I would like to invite one of our EducationUSA advisors here at America. Please give a warm welcome for Santika Salim.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. So today we will talk about why TOEFL iBT and GRE is very important, especially if you are planning your application or your study to US. You may know that they are like part of the requirements, but today I will talk more in depth on how you can retake them actually, and what are like the differences between TOEFL and Ielts, which one you should take, and GRE and GMAT, which one you need, right? So I will cover that after I give you introduction and actually let you know what are our upcoming events for EducationUSA in Ad America. So for those of you who just, first time here and you wonder what EducationUSA is, we are basically US Department of State. We network over 400 international student advising centers around the world in 170 countries at least. So we are official, and we will give you, we will do our best to give you accurate information and unbiased, opinion on studying in US. And we have 8 centers with 10 advisors in total in Indonesia. So if you know anybody who are close to this place, just refer them to EducationUSA on their city, or just let them know that EducationUSA exists so they can actually receive free guidance to actually start planning their study to US. So in Indonesia, we have 2 in Jakarta, 1 in US Embassy, and 1 in here at America Pacific Place. We have 2 in Surabaya, 1 in Medan, 1 in Malang, and Makassar and Banda Aceh respectively. This is how we guide every advisee or students who wants to study in US. For bachelor, for master, and for PhD, we use these 5 steps for everyone. So you can start with the step 1, of course, finding out what you want to study, the program itself, the school, the university that you want to apply to, make a comprehensive list, put down what they ask for, the deadline. Even if you're applying for like next year, you can take a look at this year's deadline just to know like the approximate dates that they will close or start the registration. The step 2 is actually financing your studies. So if you are looking for scholarship and you wonder what are your options, you can try to reach me or Fina, EducationUSA Advisors here, to actually give you, an information as simple as for full funding, we usually rely on Fulbright or LPDP, which is from the Indonesian government. And even if you are looking for partial ones from your university, we can also give you information on how to find them and everything like that. On the third step is actually completing your application to US University itself. So it's a different application from the scholarship, and we want you to know that it's, for scholarship, it's a long process and you need to be ready. And for the third step, we can actually help you review your CV, your resume, your essay for the personal essay, personal statement, statement of purpose. You can try to reach us and then send us the soft copy. You don't have to print anything anymore. And the step 4 is actually when you got accepted by any university in the United States, you'll have to apply student visa, right? And it's not scary. We have very high acceptance rate for student visa, Indonesian students visa. So we have the step-by-step. You don't have to worry. You just need to come in and let us know you need the guide. We'll give it to you. As long as you get a letter of acceptance and also the I-20 from the university. Step 5 is basically preparing your departure. It's a once-a-year event where we invite the students who are, going this year. We will basically make it an open event like usual here. So for those of you who are not accepted yet or still planning to apply, you can also come to the pre-departure orientation event and just to network and find out what are the things that you may want to prepare beforehand, okay? Okay, so how to check on our events is basically just going to bit.do/edusa events or the official website of educationusa.state.gov. These are the advisors here, Fina and me. These are our emails. You can send us emails if you have short questions, but you don't have time to travel to America every day. Ours is here Sunday until Friday, 1 until 9 p.m. Saturday is from 10 until 9 p.m. It's even earlier. Heads up that for Saturday, we will have a GRE Prep course, which is quite crowded, and that's early in the 10:30. So if you plan to do advising during those crowded hours, we really encourage you to actually email us beforehand. Okay, so this is the one that I actually talk about. It will be a 12 session every Saturday. It started last week, so it's not too late for you to join the second one because you basically don't really miss anything. You can find the handouts in our website, www.atamerica.org.id. Just find the events, the GRE Prep course event through the Education USA tab, and then you can scroll down, you can click on the event details. Basically, this one will start at 10:30 until 1, but if you want to make sure you have, you can reserve your seat, you need to come at 10, between 10 and 11 a.m. on Saturday. So yeah, this is completely free, so you can bring in your friends or yourself if you really need the GRE. And this one is the TOEFL. It will be every Tuesday. We also had the first one this Tuesday, so next Tuesday will be the second one. It's the same. You can go to our website, find the details, download the handout, be ready for the course, come in half an hour earlier than the stated time here, which is 6 until 8:30 p.m. So the registration or we will take in the attendance from 5:30 until 6:30 p.m. Okay? And this one will be on next Wednesday, a CV and resume clinic for US University application. Like I mentioned before, Education USA give a review on essay and resume, and this event is especially made for CV and resume for your US University application. This one will be like a group work of, trying to brainstorm on what is better to put in your resume and your CV, what to exclude, and giving you examples of what to do and what not to do. I will also give one-on-one CV or resume review. So I will separate the attendance by 2 groups, and one doing the group work and the other one having the one-on-one review. You can send your CV or resume to jakarta.america@educationusa.org, and we will only open your CV or resume when you attend the event. So if you send one but you cannot attend, it's totally fine. We will not, share your CV or resume to other people who actually came to the event, okay? Okay, so today I will start the why you need TOEFL iBT and the GRE to study in the USA. Before I start, can I know how many of you actually attend the GRE and the TOEFL prep course here? Hands, please. Okay, almost all of you, okay. So for those of you who haven't attended, you may be like wondering, like even have more questions than those who actually already tried to go to the prep course. If you really don't know what TOEFL, iBT, and GRE is, standardized tests is what they are. But there are so many types of standardized tests, and these are actually, I'm going to give the introduction first. Standardized test is required for all test takers to answer the same questions. Not necessarily like, same number, same set of questions, but it's like the same type of questions, the same style, the same template of question, but not necessarily 100% same number, especially if it's a math test, right? In the same way that it is scored in a standard or consistent manner. So if one question is 10 points for you, it will be the same 10 points for other students too, right? It's fair in a manner of, the score cannot be like, oh, you only receive 1 point if you got correct, but the other person got 2 points because they're correct. So it's totally not that way. And it's associated with a large-scale test administered to a large population of students, which is, this is the style of the standardized test, and it's what makes them standardized tests, right? There are so many types of standardized tests, and I'm only putting some here. For SAT and ACT, it's actually for undergrad. I used to put them 2 here because I used to, I want to let the undergrad students too know that SAT and ACT have some differences, but I'm assuming that all of you here are applying for the master degree, right? Anyone for the bachelor? Okay, no. So if any of you who are watching online that actually, you have some questions on for the bachelor under a standardized test like SAT or ACT, you can come to find me personally, and I can actually brief you on what are the differences and maybe which one will suit you better, okay? So I'll go straight to the Ielts and Toefl. So it can be used for both undergrad and graduate or, other purposes actually. So it's only English language. There's no maths for the Ielts and Toefl. And the one who actually made and hosted is different. So Ielts is British Council Foundation.id in Indonesia. This is the direct linked website. And for TOEFL iBT, it's only ets.org. You cannot actually go to other website because for IELTS, I just realized you can go to ielts.org. And then later you find a portal for the Indonesian students takers to this website, right? For the GRE, it's, so TOEFL and GRE are made by the same institution. It's called ets.org here. And GRE is for the graduate and, a lot of other majors, not only for the business. So the GMAT itself is only for, graduate applicants, and it's hosted by the MBA.com. It's only for business majors or business school specific, and I'll explain further later. This is just an overview of, different types of standardized tests. There's also like LSAT and everything for other majors, so you need to find out what your requirements are. Okay, these are the test duration, price, and validity. Because there are so many things to cover between the different types of standardized tests, I'm actually breaking them down to not overwhelm you. You can see here, like, most of the tests require 3 to 4 hours, especially this one. IELTS exclude the speaking on the 2 hour 45 minutes. So after you finish all of the computerized tests, you will have another set of appointment for the speaking because it's in person. So for TOEFL, everything is in front of the computer. You use a headphone and a microphone, including the speaking part. So you only have 3 hours. And I will give you an update on the TOEFL later on too. So the price itself, IELTS is 2.9 million Indonesian rupiah as of now, and the price is subject to change, on their from the British Council Foundation. And the TOEFL is 205, the same with the GRE. GRE take actually longer, like 4 hours, around 4 hours, I rounded up. The GMAT is 3 hours, it's 250, it's more expensive and it's more targeted. And the validity actually range from 2 to 5 years. For the IELTS and TOEFL, because they're like English competency tests, I think it's only fair that they actually only want to gauge you by, to have the validity shorter, because then you can improve really fast in 2 years' time, right, for the language itself. So language itself, IELTS and TOEFL is 2 years, and GRE GMAT is 5 years. Same with SAT and ACT on the top here. Okay, the differences between the TOEFL and IELTS. But before that, this is an update on the TOEFL iBT. So ETS actually announced a new format change for the test taker. It's effective since last year's August. Basically, it's a good news because it's actually a shorter test, right? The reading from 3 to 4 passages each with 12 under 14 questions became 10 questions only. So the number of passages is still there, 3 or 4 passages, but the questions is fixed to 10 questions per passages, right? The listening part, 4 until 6 lectures, updated into 3 to 4 lectures. So a lot shorter, right? For the speaking part, from 6, it's renewed to 4 tasks only. For the writing, there's no changes, it's still 2 tasks. So just to clarify here, the task means like, it's like a question, but the question is in the form of, for the speaking part, of course, you will have to listen on what the story is about, right? For writing, of course, it's like a condition that they give to you that you have to write on. So that's why it's called task instead of questions. The whole test duration itself from 3.5 hours into 3 hours only. So it's a shorter one, and the total of the score is still the same, 120. So it's safe to say that the test actually became kind of easier for international students because it's shorter. Okay, this is the main difference that you can rely on. So basically, TOEFL is owned by the ETS only. It stands for Educational Testing Service. You can check it out if you're curious using your phone, using your browser. It's ets.org, and if you have any questions later on regarding any TOEFL iBT or the GRE, I'll try to answer by the end of this session, right? TOEFL and then IELTS is jointly owned by the British Council, IDP, Australia, Cambridge Assessment, English institution. So the main difference is actually one is using US English and the other one is UK English. How to differentiate is actually by actually spelling. So you can also expect some accents that's different between these two. Because basically that's why they're different, right? The score point is from 0 until 120 points, and there's no half points there. For the IELTS, it's 0 until 9 points, and it's possible for half points. So let's say you can have IELTS overall score of 7.5, and you cannot have any half points for the TOEFL. So it's like 70, 72, 80, it's all in the number, not in decimal point. For the sections, it's the same. They have 4 sections: reading, listening, speaking, and writing. And the difference is in this part, where in the IELTS, you need to speak in person for the grade of your speaking section. It's a different time. So let's say you finish your test and at 10 a.m. and you have the appointment for the speaking at 11:30 or something. It's all up to the test makers, which is the British Council in this case for the IELTS. So when you purchase the test, they will have the option for you on that. Don't have to worry. Okay, so I will give you, because I need to take a look at the screen as well. I make a step-by-step on how to make the account for TOEFL iBT, because a lot of you actually still trying to figure out what TOEFL is, how to actually make an account. Because the thing is, before you purchase a test, you will need to make an account, right? And some of you think you cannot find out the test date before you make an account, which is actually possible, and it's in the next slide of this. So for this one is actually the step-by-step on how to make the TOEFL iBT account. Okay, so you go to ets.org. Okay, when you scroll down, you can choose TOEFL. Okay, I'm trying to follow the cursor here. So create my account on the top, right? A new window will pop up open, so you just have to wait for it. And if you already have an account, this is where you also sign in. And if you're not having any account yet, you need to press the new user. Okay, so fill in all of your data required. And you just need to press next. I think there's like 3 or 4 sections for this one to fill in. Yep. So you need to finish all of those and revise and review and submit. I need to let you know that this part is crucial for you to make an account, because you cannot have any error. Your name, especially your name. So a lot of times when you make an account, you think you can just change your name later on if you make a typo in it, right? But for the ETS and the GRE, you cannot do that. So any misspelling of your name, and you want to change it to the correct name, even though it's just like an extra A, like Jessica with double A in the back, you need to email them directly and then like provide them with anything that they need to change your name. You cannot change your name by yourself, okay? So that's very important for you to have this last part, the review and submit. So before you actually submit and make the new account, make sure your name and your email and everything is correct, okay? And I want to let you know too that the TOEFL and the GRE, since it's the same from the ets.org, you can have different you need to have different username for each TOEFL and GRE. So it's 2 different accounts, 2 different username, and 2 different password, right? So a lot of people think, because it's the same from the ETS, right? Once you make one TOEFL account and you can use it for the GRE. And that's not how it works. So you need to make 2 accounts if you want to take both TOEFL and the GRE. Okay, this one is the test time and center. For TOEFL, there are a lot of test centers in Jakarta, in Surabaya, in other cities. In Indonesia, there are a lot of options, a lot more than the GRE. GRE only, in Indonesia, we only have 1 test center for the GRE itself. So you don't have an option, and it's only in Jakarta. Okay, this one is for TOEFL. What I do is actually utilizing Google to be more specific, and I don't run anywhere else. So just Google TOEFL test time and then choose that one. And click on the second link over there. You can actually choose up to half year in advance for the test dates itself. Okay, so you type in your location and then the month range and click for the search. The green ones are those that are available, so you can only choose on the green ones. If you see it today that it's green, but it's not anymore next time you see, so the slot is filled up, right? That's how to find out the test time. And if you like if you already decide on the test center and time, then you just need to press on the register. Then they will ask you to log in, right? There's two ways to do this. Is by looking at the test date, time, and the center, click the register, and then sign in here. Or you can sign in and then press on the find test center and dates on the blue on the left if you already logged in, okay? This one is for the GRE. So it's basically the same, but I'm showing you also to let you know that even though it's the same ets.org, but it's a different portal. So here you go. ets.org again. Now this time click GRE and ETS account. Okay, create an account on the right bottom. For GRE, it's a lot shorter than the TOEFL, the things that you have to fill in. Yep, it's only 3 sections over there. Still, don't freak out if they ask for your initial, then just follow what they ask for. And when you're purchasing the test, basically, even if your profile is the complete first name, middle name, and last name, and they just took your initial when you want to purchase the test. So let's say Jessica Ariel and your last name, and they abbreviate the Ariel into A. So don't freak out, because as long as your profile is in the right name, in the complete name, then it's fine, okay? And make sure that all of your account information, personal information, is a match to your ID. So your, for Indonesians, is KTP, and or your driving license or your passport. If you decide to use all of them, make sure that they are all the same that you put in here, okay? Okay, this is the test time for the GRE and how to find out. It's the same with the TOEFL. You can sign in and then find the test date, or this one is without the sign in, right? So if you haven't made an account, but you just don't want to log in, you don't have that much time to log in, you just want to check the test date and time, just do this one. GRE test time. Scroll down to find the test time for test takers. It's the first link, that one. So for GRE, there are lots of types of tests, the subject test and everything. But the one that's most common is the general test, so GRE general. And choose Jakarta, because Indonesia only have one test center. And you can actually choose up to December. So that's a year by now, like almost a year. So all of in the green, the dates in the green is available, and you can see the test time. For GRE, there's 2 time slots, I think in the morning and afternoon. If you're good with either one, you can just press. So there's only one, I think it's Menara Imperium, if I'm not mistaken, just now. And I'm going to show you if you go back to the closer dates. There are some slots that's already not in the green, so you cannot have those dates. This is just to show you, like, if you're planning to take GRE, it's a good thing if you can purchase them in the, in advance, so you don't run out of the slots. So those in the gray is the ones that you cannot take already, because it's full. Okay, I think we are done with this one. This is the difference between the GRE and GMAT, and I hope this is useful. So this is the overall difference, right? Of course, the fee is different, 250 versus the 205 in the GRE. And GMAT's quant section is considered or known to be more challenging than the one in GRE. It's quite funny because for GRE, you can actually use it to apply to engineering schools and all of the science branch, which actually require you to be quite good in quant, right, in maths. But the GMAT is quite challenging itself because one of the reasons, I think, because you cannot use calculator for the GMAT. And this one is the total points for the GMAT. It's 200 until 800 for GMAT, and 340 for the max score for the GRE. These are the sections. I think this one, the verbal part, don't have the integrated reasoning for the GRE. So it's a little bit simpler for the GRE itself, for the verbal part, but I will show you the difference later on what to focus on, right? Okay. Oh wait, the time here is, this one is very exact. It's 3 hours, 7 minutes for the GMAT. But of course, sometimes there are like break times and everything. So I would like you to know that the things that I put here is just an approximate, because sometimes you have breaks and then you can fill in the free score recipient after your test. So it actually is longer. The test itself is 3 hours, but in total, like how much time you will spend is actually a lot more than that, okay? So you just need to prepare on maybe if it's the time, because GRE is on the weekdays. So if those of you who work on weekdays, it will be quite a challenge to actually take the test and then go to work, right? Even if you take the morning one or the afternoon one, because it will collide with your work hours. So I want you to take in mind, like, it's about 4 to 5 hours in total, excluding maybe your transportation time to your commute time to the test center. Okay, this one is the GRE and GMAT comparison that I make. So GRE is from ETS and GMAT is MBA.com. So you can try to find out on, the more details on how they grade and the time per section and everything, because I don't put it in here. I think it will be too overwhelming for you if you're still trying to figure out what are they about. So instead of that, I think it's better for you to have an overall picture. Okay, so like I mentioned, GRE is GRE is quite general. You can actually use it for almost all majors. And some business schools actually accept GRE as well. So first thing first, before you take GRE or GMAT, go to the university that you want to apply to and find out what tests that they will accept, okay? TOEFL, a lot of actually 100% US university accept TOEFL, but there are so many of the US university also accept Ielts. So if you do better in Ielts, you can just make sure that the university you're applying accept Ielts and you can use Ielts instead of the TOEFL, okay? This one is the one that I mentioned you, the time that it's actually more than what it's actually mentioned. So when can you take the test if you make a correlation on what I show you on how to find the test date and center for the GRE? You know that you can take it all year round as long as it's available, okay? For the GMAT, it's actually, I think it's going to be less than the GRE, and you can also find out about the GMAT test time and test center the same way that I show you for the TOEFL and the GRE. So just Google out GMAT test time Jakarta. It will pop up on their website and the options that you can choose from. Okay, this is the verbal sections comparison. So GRE will focus more on the vocabulary itself, while the GMAT is actually grammar, okay? And the test will have 3 types of questions for you in the GRE. So you can choose the right answers, which is not only limited to 1. And you can choose a sentence in the passage and multiple choice. But in the GMAT, everything is multiple choice, okay? And so the tips for the GRE, actually you need to learn the words, not the definition. Because how it functions in the context itself is, because you cannot memorize every word in the dictionary. That's too much, and nobody can actually do that. So what you need to improve on is actually trying to analyze the word on, like analyze it, how it will convey, like what it will mean and everything like that. So the more you actually read, like newspaper, magazines, and everything that you read actually helps you to understand the context itself in understand every word in the context itself. Because sometimes you can have, like in Bahasa Indonesia as well, you can have one word, but different meanings depending on which sentence you use, right? And for GMAT, you need to learn to speak grammar. Why did I put in speak grammar? Because one way to find out whether it's grammatically correct or not is when you read it out loud. After you read it, and if it feels weird, then most of the time it could be the wrong grammar, right? So that's why I learned to speak grammar. So you need to watch out on how clauses and commas are used. So when you put in a sentence or read a paragraph without any punctuations, it can be different when you have punctuations. You can have pause and clause, and you can understand the whole paragraph better if you have punctuations, right? So that's what you need to improve on. Basically, generally, how to improve your grammar is also by using the language more. So in these terms, not only reading but maybe watching will help you too. Okay. In here, I actually give you an example of the test verbal questions in the real test. So the left one is the GRE, and the right one is on the GMAT. I'll give you like a minute or 2 so that you can read on this and keep in mind what your answer is, okay? Okay, 2 minutes starts now. Okay, for those in the back, can you actually read? Kebaca nggak? Kebaca ya? Okay. Okay, so 2 minutes up, and we are going to the answers. Okay, so these are the answers, and I will actually let you know that it's two different. They're both verbal section, but the type of question is different. So this one is the text completion example for the GRE, and this one is sentence correction for the GMAT. Why I choose this example is because I want to show you on their different emphasis. So like I mentioned, GRE will focus more on the vocab, while the GMAT will focus on the grammar, right? So in this case, fearful, okay, I'm gonna stand up to read this. Tentative, fearful, even his first forays into the theatrical arts were hardly, the answer is auspicious. So they were expecting you to know the word that you need to put in, which one is the correct word to fill in here, that makes sense to this context, right? So if you put in restraint, I don't think it will, fit in well for the context here. And for the GMAT sentence correction example, the question is Major League Baseball policy prohibits use of anabolic steroids, HGH, and no illegal drugs. So they want you to correct the and no here, and the correct one is or any. So A is totally the same, so it's a no. And any, so you want to make sure that or any, because or any will makes everything here, the anabolic steroids and HGH, inclusive, right? Because they're in the same category of illegal drugs. But if you use an any, it will only makes the anabolic steroids and HGH different than the illegal drugs. So they're like in the separate category, right? And that's how, and if you notice, it's only a difference of N and or. So it can be more challenging for people who actually don't really, it's hard for you to find the difference. Why do I have to choose between N and or? Because can I use both, right? Because it's the same or very similar. And in this part, it's a huge difference for them. That's why speak grammar means when you read out loud, if they feels weird, then it's probably not the answer, okay? Okay, so this is the section for the quant. The difference is actually the template of the questions. So the GMAT itself, I forgot to put in the calculator, but it's in here in the tips. So GRE allows you to use calculator, but I'm not sure whether you bring in the physical calculator or it's like they provide it on the test center. I'm guessing it's the latter, but you need to double check with GRE, the ets.org, and when you purchase the test, they will send you an email of confirmation, and you can find out more if it's really you don't need to bring your own calculator, okay? So in general, people feels like the math in the GRE is easier than the GMAT, and I can show you later why. But it's quite a general assumption. Some people actually do better for the GMAT math because it's more applicable to business settings. So if you already work in a business related field or sales or anything, marketing that deals with a lot of number, a lot of percentage, a lot of calculations in your head, so GMAT could be easier for you than the GRE, okay? So this is quite subjective here. GRE have MCQ, multiple choice, multiple answer, numeric entry, and quantitative comparison. And the tips for the GRE, because you can actually use calculator, when you want to buy the GRE, you can actually get 27 free practice tests. 27 is divided into 3 types of practice tests. For those of you who actually got a voucher from at America before and you redeemed your GRE with me, you know how it works. It's a bit weird. When you try to add all the $0 free practice tests when you want to buy the test, it will go error. So what you need to do is actually go back to the ETS and the GRE account and keep on refreshing until all 27 is in your cart, plus the test itself, so you need to have 28 in your cart, okay? If you're confused, you want to buy your test, you need the guide, come and find me and I'll be happy to help, okay? So you can use those practice tests that you got for free actually to find out which part that you need calculator, you know? You can have your own calculator. And then when you face certain questions that you think, I don't need a calculator for this kind of questions. So when you are having the real test, then you know, okay, this question, I don't need calculator. It saves your time and your decision-making process is faster because this is very time-sensitive test we are talking about here. So you can only have like 1 minute for one questions and it's in the quant section. You need to be quite fast to decide whether you need calculator or not, and it helps if you already find out which type of questions you need and don't need. And each person is different, so this is why it's important for you to actually make use of the free practice test. If you don't, then it will be quite shocking for you in the real test itself. Okay, a lot of people actually ask, how much should I score for GRE? How much should I score for GMAT? The answers actually depends on your target. So each university will have different target or average score. They won't say minimum of blah, 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 blah points, but most of the time, if you actually email the admission office and ask, how much do I need to score for my GRE or my GMAT to be accepted in your program? They will give you very diplomatic answers that they don't have a cut-off. They don't have a cut-off score. But most of their current students or like existing students or applicants have this much in average, right? Or recommended score of this much. Some of them goes even as detailed as minimum of this much and recommended of this much. So it's very confusing, and it really depends on the university that you're looking for, okay? What's a good score? In general, for the GRE itself, is actually on every test of the standardized test, actually, of course, it's like when we are, in high school, in primary school, getting 90 out of 100 is, of course, better than 80, right? So the safe benchmark is actually, if you want to put a target and you don't know, you don't know the target of your score, then it's good to put a target of 90th percentile so this one for the GRE is 3 to 7 points. And for the GMAT, it's 700 on the 90th percentile. This one is generally good score for these two tests, but of course it varies from school to school. So a lot of schools don't ask for this much, right? So before you actually stress on, oh my God, I need to get the 90th percentile or else I won't get any university in US and everything like that, don't do that first. So you need to find out first how much you need. Do your best to find out, but I doubt they will really give you a fixed score that you need, okay? The tips for GMAT is basically learn not to use calculator. It's actually the opposite. Like I said, if you already have working experience for a long time and you can do calculations in your head for, really quick, like how much in total and everything like that, it will help you a lot. So how to practice is basically using arithmetic on a daily basis. A simple one can be like when you're buying groceries, just do the calculations in your head, like, okay, how much I will pay for all of this, that you are buying. It will kind of give you a good practice on using calculations in your head, okay? For GMAT, actually, they only have 2 types of questions. It's problem solving, and it's a multiple choice, and data sufficiency. So the challenging part is actually the data sufficiency, because a lot of people who took the test will be kind of overwhelmed with the options that they actually give, okay? Okay, I'm giving you a multiple answers example for the GRE Quant and the GMAT problem solving example. I think this one is safe to say to give you 2 minutes because it's maths, right? Okay, 2 minutes, we'll start now. Okay, I give you a hint. On the left side for the GRE, you can have more than one answer because it's multiple answers, right? So don't stress yourself like choosing between multiple answers on the correct ones. Okay, 2 minutes up. Anybody want to try answering first? Anybody confident? No? Okay, it's fine. It means you need to come for the GRE and the TOEFL prep course. Okay, for the GRE, on the left side, it says multiple answers. So it's safe to say that if they put in indicate all possible lengths, they will, no, you actually have to choose more than one for this, right? So it says if x is greater than 0 and 2 slides of a certain triangle have lengths 2x plus 1 and 3x plus 4 respectively, which of the following could be the length of the third side of the triangle? Indicate all possible lengths, okay? And for the GMAT one, it's actually asking you for a percentage. So GMAT is meant for business schools, right? So it only makes sense that what they ask for in quant is something like this. Because in business majors and field, you will have to have this kind of calculation outside of your, it's like very easy for you to find out. So the profits of QRS company rose 10% from March to April, then dropped 20% from April to May, and rose 50% from May to June. What was the percent increase for the whole quarter from March to June? Okay, these are the answers. Okay, this one is 4x plus 5, 6x plus 1, 2x plus 17. And I cannot explain to you in detail on, how the tips and everything, the quick tips on finding out the answers for the quant, because I'm not an expert in that. So again, please drop by for the GRE quant section, GRE Prep course for the quant, which is, so we will alternate. The first one is verbal. Second one will be quant, which is this Saturday. And next week will also be verbal again. So if you know what you need, you can actually target it. So you don't really need to come for the 12 sessions unless you need both, right? And you want to be lucky enough to be participate in our like lottery to get the free, I think TOEFL, no, that's for TOEFL. I'm sorry. I got it mixed up. And this one is for GMAT. The answer is 32%. And of course, with GMAT, you cannot use calculator. So you really need to have your tricks on the sleeve already for this, okay? This is just to show you how the questions can, the types of questions and the things that you need to prepare for, okay? And this one is the one that people always complain about, the data sufficiency test type for the GMAT, okay? This one is only on GMAT, so don't really freak out on it. So the questions can go like, if A and B are both positive, what are the percentage of B as A? So they will always give you two statements. This is a template, so they will always give you a question and two statements, statement 1, statement 2, okay? And the multiple choice will always be like this. So a lot of people who are shocked with the option A until E that they gave will feel very overwhelmed because this is a long sentence to read, right? And the point is for A is only statement 1 alone is enough. For B, it's 2 alone is enough. For C, it's both. For D, it's each. So for E itself, together are not sufficient, okay? If you go online and search for the tips, they have plenty for this one. I think they kind of abbreviate this, like 1, 2, both, each, and then none, right? So A, B, C, D, and E here is a template. And two statements here is also a template, but it's a different statement, okay? So what you need to keep in mind is you don't need to stress on what are the options, because all of the options are the same for the data sufficiency. You just need to focus yourself on this question. And make sure you know the first one is 1. The option is for statement 1. And the second for B is statement 2, and things like that. The one that I highlight in yellow here, okay? And the correct answer is B. It's statement 2 alone is sufficient, and the reasoning is because statement 1 tells us nothing about B, so the answer cannot be A or D, okay? So statement 1 itself is not, so it cannot be A and D because 1 is not sufficient, and D, each statement alone is not sufficient. So with the first statement, you already can tell that you can eliminate A and D, right? So your option now becomes B, C, or E. Okay, next one. To find what percentage A is of B, we need to solve the expression of A divided by B times 100, because it's a percentage, right? Statement 2 allows us to do just that. So statement 2 is correct. You can just use statement 2 to prove that. So it's A divided by B is 1 out of 20. So you don't need to go further because the answer is B. So if you actually try to input one of the statement first and it works, so one of the statement is actually sufficient, right? So you can just do B. And what happens with C is because you need to take out C because you only need 2. You don't really need 1, because when 2 is sufficient, you don't need both, right? So the answer is B. And it's difficult because if you don't have enough practice, you will be very overwhelmed, like, oh my God, what should I choose? Because when I find out about this question, my first reaction is, oh my God, what are this A, B, C, D, and E is saying? Because it's so long, and they keep on repeating this thing. Sufficient statement, together, sufficient. So it's really overwhelming, and you need to be ready by practicing a lot of this, okay? And sometimes a lot of this actually has to do with more logical thinking rather than your actual mathematical skills, right? So if you actually think about what the explanation here is, it's actually quite logical, but it takes time, and you need to rush yourself because it's time, okay? So practice is the only key for any standardized test. And most of the time, just like this example, and it applies to actually most questions in standardized tests, you don't look for the right answer, you look for the wrong ones first to actually eliminate the wrong options, okay? And in worst case, if you don't know the answer, you can guess between those that may be correct, right? So you don't choose the wrong one on your own, like, okay, I know it's wrong, I'm going to choose it. It's not possible. So that's why you find the wrong one and eliminate it, okay? Okay, so we come to the almost by the end of the presentation. Of course, the big questions of today's presentation is why is it very important, right? A lot of you questions, why do I still need the GRE and GMAT, the TOEFL and the Ielts after you have English courses in your university before? And you also give your transcript and your GPA and everything like that, right? Of course, being said that they are a general requirement, part of a general requirement. For the undergrad, it's only the TOEFL or Ielts, SAT and ACT, but this one is actually, so all of this, you need to put on a stress here, it's general. So a lot of schools have different set of requirements. Okay, this is for the undergrad. We move on to the graduate. There you go, the GRE, GMAT, TOEFL, Ielts, or. So you need to choose between GRE or GMAT, TOEFL or Ielts. Not like you have a choice. Sometimes they only state you need GRE or you need GMAT for this program. So it varies from school to school. So I've read some schools, some business school that actually can accept GRE. There are some, what do I read just now? So I think it's the GMAT. GMAT is like only for business school, right? But some business school actually accepts GRE instead of the GMAT itself. Because maybe, so why they can do that is basically they have the freedom to actually put in what they ask from their applicants. The US education system is actually that flexible, okay? So each school can put in what they are looking for from the students. Some of them think GMAT is not a good fit for their business school requirement, so they go ahead and put GRE, okay? TOEFL and Ielts, like I mentioned, TOEFL is a safe one to US, but a lot of schools actually accept Ielts also. So if you score better in Ielts, you want to use your Ielts and the school actually accept Ielts, you need to do that, okay? Just pick the best score that you have between the TOEFL and the Ielts and use that one if you can use it, okay? It's same with the GRE or GMAT. Some business school can say, oh, either GRE or GMAT is fine. So if you know you will do better or you tried before and you are better in the GRE, then go ahead and use GRE. Whichever is better for you and you can use, okay? Okay, so it's a case by case. For the undergraduate path, some community college application for the AA degree. And if you don't know, it's a transfer process. So when you got your AA, you still need to transfer to 4 years university for the third and the fourth year to get a bachelor, okay? So they don't ask for TOEFL or IELTS, some of them. So even if even if they require TOEFL or IELTS, most of the time, if you don't reach their minimum, they can still have a conditional acceptance by giving you an option of attending the, English intensive classes. Okay, this one is for the graduate. Some do not need GRE, and TOEFL can be waived or not required if you graduate from an institution with English as its primary language. So sometimes it's tricky for this part, the English as its primary language. So if you graduate not in Indonesia, of course, most countries use English, right? But then you need to check whether not only the university, maybe your transcript is all in English, but the country is not an English-speaking country. So you need to double check with the admission. Hey, I graduated from here. Do I still need TOEFL or IELTS, right? Just to make sure. And this is one of the examples that I mentioned. So Master of Science in Computer Sciences in Purdue do not ask for GRE. And it's a science branch, so they don't ask for GMAT, right? So you don't actually need GMAT or GRE for this master degree in this specific university. So that's just one of the example on how flexible it is. That's why knowing your target on where to apply is more important than actually deciding which test to take first, okay? And for other purpose, actually, so imagine if you don't need TOEFL or IELTS. Will you actually try to learn more English? Because in mind with when you go to US, you need to use English on daily basis to interact with the locals. So why they need international students to have TOEFL or IELTS and GRE or GMAT is actually to know whether you are able to survive in the US. You know, how are you going to ask questions when you're lost if you don't have English level of, sufficient level of speaking ability or skills, understanding what they actually tell you and everything like that. So it's really important for international students to have this competency before they actually go to US to study. It's a different case if you apply for the English program, which of course you are trying to learn English there, right? So most of the English program don't really stress on how much TOEFL you have, how much IELTS, how much score you have in your IELTS. Because your point to go there, it's for the English program. So you will improve more there from your current level. And that's why they don't really need you to be an expert in that yet. But if you're applying for a full degree program, then they will need you to, be quite independent in terms of understanding what the lecturer will say, your friends in the class, what you're reading. Do you understand any of that? Okay? So, like I mentioned, if you're applying for English program, most of them don't really ask for TOEFL or IELTS. But again, some of them can ask for your TOEFL or IELTS to know how much attention or, like courses that you will need or anything like that, okay? So that's the first one, is to push you to improve and prepare your English language ability before you go to US. And it also let the college or university know your ability so they can assist you. For example, if you actually, apply to a university with lower than the average or recommended minimum score that they put in their requirements, and you got conditional acceptance, they can actually do that. And actually you have to kind of like enroll in maybe the ESL, it stands for English as a Second Language, or English intensive classes. So, they actually accept you, but now that they know you need more English class, they go ahead and actually put that in what you need, that you have to take. So things like that will be one of the considerations, right? So other considerations can be based on your TOEFL or Ielts grades. So in here, the example is TOEFL or Ielts speaking section grades can be used to, evaluate if you are a good fit for a teaching assistantship. If you don't know what teaching assistantship is, it's like in Bahasa Indonesia, it's ASDOS, assistant dosen. And in US, it's actually like a paid position. So sometimes you can have your tuition waived, or you can also receive stipend. Stipend is living cost, kind of like. So it's kind of like it can cover the whole education and your cost there. So it's really a good thing. But then again, it's competitive, and you have to find out whether they have it or not. But this is just one of the good example. They need you to be able to speak well in English in order to actually let you to have to be a teaching assistant, right? Okay, so this is the end of our presentation. Is a famous FAQ. A lot of the students who actually wants to take the test or already purchased the test, and of course, like I said, you need to set advance time of your test. So let's say for today, I can buy the test. For GRE itself, we can, as you've seen just now, I actually tried December, and there's available slot in December. I can actually buy that test in December 2020. So you never know what will happen when you're trying to take the test, right? So let's say you suddenly need to reschedule or cancel it because you cannot make it to the test. And that's the FAQ comment. This one is, oops, this one is retaking. I will go back to this. This one is the reschedule or the cancellation. For the TOEFL iBT, you can actually reschedule or cancel it 4 days before the test date. So the maximum, the closest time that you can actually reschedule or cancel is 4 days before the test date. Okay, so let's say your test is on Saturday. You must reschedule or cancel by Tuesday. Okay, the fee itself is $60 of US dollar. It must be paid before you can register for another date. It just means you need to pay before you choose the rescheduled date. Okay. For cancellation, you will not receive a refund. The refund is actually half of the original fee. You will not receive a refund if you cancel like after 4 days before that. So let's say your test is on Saturday and you cancel on Wednesday, you won't get half of the refund. And the refund is only half, so you cannot. So some people will have, like a question pop up again after reading this, like, so if I cancel a week before, can I have a full refund? No, the refund is only half, and you need to do it at least 4 days in advance before your test, okay? Test center staff cannot make schedule changes. So everything for the TOEFL and the GRE is online based. You just need to log into your account and reschedule everything there, and payment is there. For the payment method, unfortunately, you need to use a credit card or like something that can be used for international purchase, which I can only think of credit card now. So yeah, this actually is from the ets.org website for the FAQ in TOEFL iBT section. It's a good idea to actually go to the FAQ because a lot of questions we don't really have time to cover everything here, but I can tell you TOEFL have 4 free results that you can put in when you buy the test. Don't freak out if you don't know where you are sending them yet. You purchase the test, you can still edit the 4 free results, okay? You can choose to send a paper copy to your address, or you just need an online copy, and you can also still change it, okay? So for TOEFL, it's more relaxed. You can still change it until the day before your test, if I'm not mistaken, and if they don't change it. Also, I don't recommend you to actually be logging in and changing the recipient and everything, adding the recipient, the free result on the very last deadline that they put in, because sometimes they do maintenance on their website. So you need to be earlier than the deadline that they give, just to be safe, okay? This one is for the rescheduling or the cancellation of GRE itself. You can also reschedule or cancel, the same with the TOEFL, no later than 4 days before the test date. And instead of $60 for the TOEFL, it's $50 for the GRE. And for the cancellation, if you request, if your request is not received at least 4 days in advance, of course, you won't receive any of the refund as well, okay? And if you use, voucher code or anything like that, I don't think they will be able to refund you, because the voucher do not work like you purchasing with a cash or vice versa. Okay, we go back to, actually the retake part is part of the tips, right? A lot of us have, so after you find out where you want to apply and you have a target to reach, let's say you want to have a TOEFL iBT score of 90, but your first test is only 80, right? And you're confused on what to do. At this point, we will recommend you to actually retake, because it's still your first time. And if you still have enough time before your deadline of the application, you need to retake the test and try your best to reach 90 of the minimum requirement for from the university. Unlike the GRE and the GMAT, most university actually put in a minimum or score for the TOEFL or the Ielts, because they think it's like the basic of your competency to survive in the program. So they kind of stress more in the TOEFL and the Ielts for your English skills. And therefore, I really encourage people who took the first test or the second test and have not reached the target to retake the test. Of course, it requires a lot of resources, and that's why you need to really prepare yourself before you take the actual test, because when you want to retake it, you need to, spend more money on it and everything, and time, and especially if your deadline is close. While we actually recommend anyone who wants to study to US to have 1 year in advance for the preparation, because of this, you need to prepare all of this. And for the letter of recommendation, it's not something that you write, it's from other people. So imagine if you wait on someone that forgot to write your letter and your deadline is close, it's a chaos, so you don't want to do that, okay? So having longer time to prepare actually gives you more space to improve, and that's what recommended. Okay, this one is when you can retake and how to retake the TOEFL. For TOEFL, it's quite a good thing that there's no limit on the number of times you can take the test. But you cannot take it in less than 3 days. So let's say So let's say I have the test today, 16th of January on Thursday. So I cannot take the test in Saturday because it's only been 2 days, right? I can take it after the 3 days, which is I think 1, 2, 3. I think Monday, the 20th January. Okay, that's the only restrictions that they have on the TOEFL retaking test. And the retake test is not like a single new process from buying another test. It's the same like you buy the test in the first time, okay? So after you take it and you think, oh my God, I just screw up that test. I need to buy another test. So I need to retake the test. So what you do is actually go to your ets.org TOEFL account and buy another test, but you cannot choose a date that's less than 3 days of your previous test date, okay? If you already have a test appointment, you cannot register for another test date that is within 3 days of your existing appointment. So let's say you freak out, right? You have a test today. No, you have a test on Saturday, and you freak out by today. Like, I'm not ready, I cannot do this, and you freak out, and you decide to, canceling it costs money. Canceling it only gets you half of the refund, and it's less than 4 days, so you won't get a refund, right? So you might as well go for the test on Saturday, and then you're not prepared, so you want to buy another test. But you cannot buy the test within the 3 days too, okay? So that's the only restriction. But I'm not worried, because when you want to, buy another test, when you're trying to buy like outside of their restriction, they will not allow you to buy it. So, and that's why you can find out that, oh, it's 3 days, within 3 days, so I cannot buy the test, right? Okay, this one is for the GRE. It's quite important to know that you can only have 5 times of GRE within a year of, the calculation is 365 days. You can take it once every 21 days. This applies even if you canceled your score on the test taken previously. You may take the paper delivered test as often as it's offered, but unfortunately in Indonesia, as I know it, they don't do the paper test, so you can only have 5 times in a year, okay? 21 days, every 21 days, and a lot of the questions is, so the case that I told you that freaking out and everything is quite real, because we had an advisee like that. They already have a test date for the GRE. They already bought it far, far away. Back in months ago, they bought a test, and they freak out because they think they're not doing well based on the practice test and everything, right? And they go ahead and they want to reschedule, but the reschedule costs money, right? So they are trying to purchase another test. And you can actually, before you take your upcoming test, you can also buy another test that's 21 days after your test. Will that make sense? It's hard to, say it, because it's better to be shown, but yeah, I'm telling you that. Yeah, that's that. And this is the preparation tips. Okay, first one is give yourself time to practice, because standardized tests have fixed template of the style of questions, sections, time, which of course, the more you practice, the more familiar you are with the style of the question, with the tips and tricks, which is, eliminate the wrong questions first, will actually help you a lot if you practice a lot too. Use a phone app or website like Megush or Duolingo for generally speaking of increasing your English ability. And use the free resources for the GRE. It's free and it's official, so you can go to the website and just input this, right? Or you can just Google them if you don't have this link. The fourth one is actually read news like New York Times, BBC, VOA News. not only reading news, news is more like formal, right? And sometimes for me personally, I learn better for grammar through like daily conversations and through movies where people actually talk on daily life, which actually makes you familiar on the grammar itself rather than the words on the paper. So for New York Times, BBC, and VOA News, for news and magazines, it's more like for the GRE because you need to focus on the vocabulary, and it just suits the template, you know, like if you read news in English, they will have some words that you don't understand yet, but as you familiarize yourself with reading news, you can tell what do they mean by this word and that word, okay? And the fifth one is actually retake the test, and it's totally okay. Basically with the TOEFL, Ielts, GRE, GMAT, and all of the standardized tests, you don't have, you know, like a label of failing and succeeding, like passing and failing grades, because it really depends on your target, right? So, and there's no label of failing and passing in your report card in your score result. So as long as you can retake them, it's totally okay. And it's very common for people to retake the test, you know, whether they're local students or international students. I think it's, you know, it's the same challenge. And the next one is actually take extra lesson or tuition if it's necessary for you. If you are not a self-study person, you need guidance and tutors. You need to find one. Go ahead and find one. There are lots of institutions that actually offer classes for the prep, so you can totally find one that actually suits you. One of the tips to find a good one is actually by asking questions before you sign up for the classes and pay for the classes. Ask them questions like, you know, what will you get? Is it like you will try you will learn using computer as well, because that's important, right? You don't want to practice on paper and then when you do the test, everything is on the screen and you're not used to the type of writing and typing is quite different. So you want to make sure that it's as close as the real test gets, okay? Ask them that kind of questions. Who will be teaching? How much experience the teacher have? Will you give me a free, you know, like trial test or something like that? Because it's important for you to gauge your score before you go for the real test. You know, ask as many questions as you can, as long as you think it's worth your money and resources, and you can go ahead and have it, okay? The seventh one and the last one is actually, because I actually make this event for, you know, like to let the people who actually try to attend the TOEFL and the GRE but still trying to figure out whether they need it or not. So now that you know more about the, you know, standardized tests and you feel like, oh, I actually need them. So you can actually make use of the current free prep course in America. Actually, this round is the third one. Last year, we had 2 rounds of both TOEFL and the GRE Prep course because it was very successful and very useful for a lot of advisees and participants. So we decided to make the third one, and this time it's 12 session. It will be on, you know, every week. So. And there's no binding, so let's say you cannot attend the 4th and the 5th and you want to come in for the 6th session, you can totally do that because everything is open for public and it's for free, right? It's just that it's first come, first serve basis, so as long as we have the seat for you, then it's fine for you to come in and study even if you don't need the attendance marked by the America team. Okay. For the TOEFL prep course, we actually encourage actually those who actually attend all of the 12 sessions will have a chance to be, their names will be put in a bowl, and then we will pick on names that attend all of the session to get a free TPO, TOEFL practice online. So it's like a mock test for the TOEFL itself, and the facilitator actually give it to us, and we will choose those that really commit to coming in, okay? And there will be vouchers and books as well, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so this goes for the tips. And in America, if you guys ever go to the back of this one is performance. So in the back of this area, it's a classroom. So it's like an alley behind this room. We have bookshelves, right? There's 2 bookshelves. One is for magazines. The other one is for books, EducationUSA books. So we have all of these books that I will show you, and you can use them as long as you return them back to the shelf, right? Unfortunately, you cannot bring them home because we don't have a system that actually takes care of who is borrowing and who will, giving it back. So you can use them as long as you're here and put it back to the shelf. You can borrow the iPad from the member booth if you need to take notes using your Google Drive or anything like that. Feel free to borrow an iPad since you cannot bring in your laptop. You can use your phone to take pictures of important pages. We encourage you to do so. So this one is for the Ielts, and this one is TOEFL. And the next one is for the GRE, GMAT, and another GMAT. These 3 are quite heavy because they are quite thick. I didn't bring them here because I think it's important for you to know where it is as well, okay? So for those of you who wonder where are these books, you can follow me after this event and I will kindly show you where they are, okay? Okay, so we will open a short Q&A session. Any questions? Nope. Okay, I think I'm very clear. Oh, okay, I have one for the Q&A. Can you please stand up and then introduce yourself? Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Vici, and I'm currently pursuing for, S2 master in the USA. And I'm just wondering, is there any kind of best score for GRE? Because we have that for the TOEFL iBT, right? So is there any the best score?
Okay, thank you, Vici, for your question. Because that's very technical. I'm just going to Google that. GRE best score. Okay. So it's not called the best score for the GRE. So from the ets.org here is GRE score select options. And I'm guessing it's quite the same thing. Like you can choose which one is your best for per section. But please keep in mind like best score and score select option is something like it is something that you want to check with your university that you're applying to, whether they accept best score and score select option for your GRE, okay? If they accept it, and so sometimes it's like, oh, I only got 80 for this, so you fulfilled most of the sections for your last test score, but then there's one section that's not fulfilled, right? But you actually hit the target on your previous test. So you need to make sure that the university actually accepts that you can select those. Sometimes you don't know whether they accept it or not, so just go ahead and email the admission office, okay? Other question? One last question? Okay. Oh, okay. Sorry, Mas itu. Okay. We still have half an hour after this event, so we can talk. Hi.
Okay, good evening everyone. My name is Yuda. Thank you,
Mbak Santika.
Santika, for the presentation.
Sama-sama.
Anyway, I'm planning to continue my study in business field MBA program. I'm still confused about which one should I take between GRE and GMAT, because some of my friends told me that GRE is easier than GMAT. But actually, last year, I have taken GMAT prep course in one of intensive course. So in the universities that I want to pursue, they require both GRE and GMAT. But when I see in the class profile page, it's about the average students in the previous class. It appears that GMAT is 80% accepted than the GRE. So what will you suggest me to take?
Okay,
Yeah.
so you have checked that they accept, so most of the accepted students took GMAT,
GMAT.
80%. And it's official website from the university.
Official website.
Then you might want to try hitting on the GMAT.
Yeah.
Okay, but did you find GMAT is harder than GRE after the session?
Actually, I haven't take the GRE prep course from
Okay.
at America.
That's okay.
But I'm kind of familiar with the GMAT.
Okay. So what I would recommend you to do is actually try to come in for the GRE prep course this Saturday, because it's the quant. So you can kind of compare, because you already took GMAT before, right? You can compare if it's easier for you to do GRE or GMAT. Okay? And if you feel like GRE is easier, and you can go ahead and take GRE and see if your score is actually better than your GMAT in the percentile form, okay? And I would recommend you to submit your best score regardless of it's GRE or GMAT. So you need to kind of explore yourself whether you do better in GMAT or GRE. And you can also like, because you said your friend says GMAT is easier, right?
GRE is easier.
GRE is easier, okay. Because that's more common, like people say GRE quant is easier than the GMAT, because like what I show you before, the GMAT has that the sufficiency test, which sometimes can mess with your thinking. So yeah, you can go ahead and try the GRE first. But if you do better in GMAT, of course, you need to submit your GMAT instead of GRE. Okay?
But yeah, but when I see the percentage about 80% and 20% like that in the other university, do you think that the opportunity is still the same if we took GRE or
So
GMAT?
sometimes when they put in what's accepted, like 80% of their student accepted is GMAT, it's simply sometimes the students who apply for they took GMAT because they only apply to, business schools, right? So some of the students actually took GRE instead of GMAT because maybe they're applying for other things. And sometimes they think, so it's natural to think that business school usually, so let's say you're applying to 4 business schools. Only one of them can accept GRE. What will you take, GRE or GMAT? GMAT, right? You'll take GMAT because you can apply to 4 universities instead of GRE that you can only apply to 1 business school. Am I right? So that's probably why they have more students accepted that took GMAT. It's as simple as that. But of course, I don't want you to rely on the percentage that they put in their website just to put pressure on you that you have to take GMAT. But you can also ask the questions to the admission office, like, is it because you require them to take the GMAT and you prefer GMAT over GRE? That's why it's 80% instead of, less than that for the percentage. Okay?
Thank
I
you.
hope I answer your question.
Yeah, that's enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you everybody for coming. So I really look forward to meet you in our other events, upcoming events. Or you can actually come in for an advising session if you have specific questions. You need essay review, resume review, okay? Things like that. I think I will hand this back to the Ed America team. Thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you so much. And now we would like to take a photo with you, Santika, with our Ad America logo. And thank you all so much for coming, everybody, tonight, this evening. Hope to see you all again at the next Ad America event. Bye-bye.